The ability to assess an enemy's military strength is crucial in determining victory or defeat during a war. This strategy holds true even in the story of Bleach. Due to Yhwach's exceptional strategic skills, he identifies every character in the Soul Society who poses a threat to himself and his army, and he continually maneuvers around them. He initiates the first Quincy invasion of the Soul Society when both Ichigo and Urahara are occupied in Hueco, and he plants Kilge Oppi there to stall them and to prevent them from making their way over to the Soul Society. Yhwach and the Sternritter then wreak havoc across the Soul Society, and during this time, the Quincy leader deliberately confronts Kenpachi, desiring to execute one of the most powerful Shinigami, only for Yamamoto to arrive and save him. Yhwach also succeeds in killing Yamamoto during the first invasion by using the Sternritter Roid as a decoy to exhaust the head captain. Just after killing the head captain, he decides to leave the Soul Society just before the arrival of the Zero Division, which suggests that he was cautious and unwilling to face off against them at this point. This leads to Ichigo then intercepting Yhwach and quickly being defeated by him. Before the revelation of the 5 war potentials, these actions had seemed coincidental. We later learned that Yhwach had meticulously planned the Quincy invasion. In this video, I want to analyze one of the threats that Yhwach had perceived on the Soul Society side. Let's discuss the implications of Ichigo Kurosaki's latent potential and why Yhwach had considered it the most significant threat to his plans. Before we talk about the main topic of the video, let's first understand the 5 war potentials and why Yhwach had tried to eliminate them or avoid them entirely. Yhwach had identified 5 Shinigami who are the most significant threats within the Soul Society. He had attributed a specific reason for each of them being on his list. Kisuke Urahara is first on the list for the reason that he has incalculable tricks. His strategic prowess and ability to outthink his opponents makes him a valuable asset to the Soul Society and its allies. This is evident in the battle against Aizen. When Ichigo loses his powers after using Mugetsu, Aizen survives but he is severely weakened. But Urahara reveals that he had already planned for this by planting a seal on Aizen, ensuring victory over him. This seal would only activate if Aizen's spiritual pressure had dropped to a significant level. This example should do more than just validate Yhwach's concerns about the threat that Urahara's intellect would pose against the Quincy. Next up, we have Sosuke Aizen, who is ranked for his incredible Reiatsu. Aizen's spiritual pressure had allowed him to break the universe's laws when he had gained the power of the Hokyoku. He could even destroy a being immune to Reiatsu. This fact alone makes him a top tier threat to Yhwach, not to mention his other absurd feats that he accomplishes during the war arc. In the next spot, we have Ichibe Hyosobe, who is feared for his wisdom. As the oldest being in the universe with immense wisdom and power, it makes sense for Yhwach to be wary of him. Kenpachi Zaraki is then listed for his strength, and he is another easily understandable ranking. Yhwach had wanted to kill Kenpachi before he'd become a bigger threat, and he had even targeted him following his training with Unohana when he had become even more dangerous. I'd highly recommend that you check out my video on Kenpachi and Ichigo's battle against the Bambis, where I break down in full detail just how badly Yhwach and the Sternritter wanted to get rid of Kenpachi Zaraki. Now, in the number 1 spot of the 5 great war potentials, the most fearsome asset that the Shinigami have during the 1000-year Blood War arc is Ichigo Kurosaki, who is the main focus of this video. He has been listed for his latent potential, and Ichigo isn't only listed but is declared as the greatest threat of the entire bunch of characters. Initially, this ranking had seemed quite odd, and most fans had assumed that it was just because Ichigo is the main character, not really thinking that there would be any narrative weight behind this decision. However, after Bleach's end and the extra material that had expanded upon the origins of Bleach's world and its creation, along with the gift of hindsight, it becomes clear that Ichigo's position as the top threat on Yhwach's list was completely and totally earned, or at least it was in my opinion. You might be wondering why Ichigo being the greatest threat to Yhwach is valid. To answer this, let's first examine the multiple power sources within Ichigo's soul, starting with his Shinigami and Hollow powers. Ichigo is a unique being. He was born as a natural hybrid of every race within the Bleach universe. Throughout the story, he mainly uses his Shinigami and Hollow powers. As a Shinigami, Ichigo Ichigo can learn any and all Shinigami combat arts, including Kido, Zanjutsu, Hakuda, and Hoho. Kido is the most explored art within the story. Although it's underutilized, the effectiveness of Kido and its power are determined by the user's Reiatsu, something that Ichigo has in abundance. This grants him versatility in combat, putting him above most other characters. If Ichigo had learned Shunko from Yoruichi, his offensive capabilities would have skyrocketed. Additionally, if he were to master Hakuda, Hoho, and Zanjutsu, and combining it with his impressive Shikai and Bankai, it would result in a truly formidable warrior. But that only covers his Shinigami side, and we haven't even touched upon his holo powers. Ichigo's holo powers give him several advantages, which build upon his already powerful Shinigami abilities. First, there's a significant enhancement to his power and speed from tapping into his holo powers. This enhancement increases according to his holification mastery level. Consequently, the power boost that he gains in his early holification days differ greatly from his Horn of Salvation form, and the difference in power level from Ichigo just manifesting a holo mask to being fully transformed into a holo state like the Horn of Salvation form is just truly worlds apart. Remember, all of this power will be stacked on top of his Bankai, and he also gains access to the high speed regeneration that most holos possess. However, this power is only seen when Ichigo is under White Zangetsu's control, and we haven't really seen Ichigo use this by himself yet. This suggests that Ichigo could potentially gain the power to regenerate from injuries similar to how White Zangetsu had allowed him to do, but he hasn't really reached this level of mastery needed to manifest these healing abilities. Now, since Ichigo can learn to do this, I'm going to include it as a part of his potential powers. Ichigo can also learn to use Arrancar techniques like Sonido, a high-speed movement technique which is similar to a Shinigami's flash step. This allows the user to move incredibly fast and to evade enemy senses. In episode 7 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime, Ichigo uses Sonido to completely disappear from the enemy Quincies radar. Since Ichigo has performed this technique before, it's likely that he can do it in the future with better mastery. Additionally, according to the Can't Be Your Own World light novels, Ichigo can merge Flash Step and Sonido in order to create a much more powerful traversal technique. Ichigo's holo powers grant him access to the full offensive and defensive arsenal of most Arrancar. He can learn to use the steel skin of the Arrancar to enhance his defenses further, making him even harder to take down if his high-speed regeneration wasn't enough. Ichigo also gains access to offensive abilities like Sero, Sero Oscuras, and the Gran Rey Sero, and even the high-speed projectile Bala. Combining all of this with his potential Shinigami powers is just overwhelming to think about, but we haven't even touched upon his Quincy powers. Because he has inherited Quincy powers from his mother Masaki, who was a pure-blooded Quincy, Ichigo's potential power reaches divine levels at this point. Quincy powers grant him an even greater array of abilities, such as manipulating Reishi. This would allow him to restore his energy, to absorb the characteristics and powers of his enemies with the extreme version of the Reishi absorbing technique called Holy Slave. This guarantees that his spiritual power reserves never get exhausted. And then with abilities like Blut Vein and Blut Artery, which enhance physical durability and offensive power respectively, Ichigo can stack these on top of his other powers. If he wants to, he can also learn to use his ability to manipulate Reishi to make constructs like weapons and seemingly even great energy fields like Yhwach's Sankt Bogen, along with the myriad of Quincy spells and techniques like Blut Vein and Haben and many others. And when you combine all of this with the Fullbringers ability to manipulate souls and matter, it just results in Ichigo becoming nothing short of a god. His untapped potential has the makings for somebody who could be invincible and totally overpowered to the max. It is because of this unrealized potential that Yhwach had feared Ichigo the most, because realistically speaking, there's almost no other being in the Bleach universe who'd be able to fight against Ichigo if he had mastered control over all of his powers. So it's exciting to see what kind of power adult Ichigo now has during the Hell arc. Only time will tell how Kubo will showcase Ichigo's new abilities and reveal what he has mastered and what he hasn't if he decides to continue the Bleach manga. It would be nice to see him utilize a bit more of the available powers to him instead of just spamming Getsuga Tensho all the time. But that's a discussion for another video. We've now reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you think about the untapped and unrealized potential that Ichigo possesses? Do you agree with some of the conclusions that I've made within this video, and my analysis of his Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy powers, and how if he had mastered various aspects of these and stacked them on top of each other, Ichigo has the makings of being one of the strongest shonen characters in existence? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments of this video, and lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this one, and I can't wait to see you in my next Bleach Explained video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.